So around a year ago, I pretty much switched up my approach to publishing entirely, and it's been one of the main reasons that has allowed me to make over 30,000 sales from just a handful of books by implementing a very well-structured launch plan and going pretty much against what everyone else has to say in terms of launching the book and ranking the book in the type of niches that you can do this for. So today's video, we're going to be going into some pretty crazy detail when it comes to some of these stats. So we're going to be talking about my upcoming book that I'm probably going to be showing off. We're going to be talking about some software that's coming out that's allowed me to create these new books. We're going to be talking about timed releases, timed book launches, all sorts of things are happening in this video. But let's take a look at what is going to be specifically inside this video. So we're going to be taking a look at some stats from 10 of my books that I've implemented my launch strategy into. So whether these stats are going to be good or bad, you're going to be able to see it on screen. And we're going to go into my dashboard. We're going to go into the reports. We're going to go into the advertising campaigns. You're going to be able to see so much in this section that people never show on their channels. So just to give you a very quick snippet of what you can find in this section here. So in the first section here, we're going to be going into my account and we're going to be taking a look at these 10 different books I've implemented my launch strategy into. And the reason that I wanted to do this is because it needs this type of information needs to have light shed upon it, because there's so much misinformation out there when it comes to these type of niches. How many sales you can expect to find organically, how many you can pair that off against your advertising sales, how long your book is going to stick in the marketplace for, how long it takes to make your money back, etc, etc. The type of ad campaigns, the amount spent, everything's going to be in this section here. So for example, we'll take a look at the 25,000 sale book. We'll take a look at some of the stats for that. We can see how old it is. We'll take a look at the other coloring books, the new one that I've released just 1 month ago. So you're going to be able to see results from things like the addition and subtraction workbook, which is now a year old. So you'll be able to see the actual sales for that, the ad sales for that, and obviously you can work out the organic sales by subtracting one from the other. So it's going to be a ton of stats that go into this section. You're going to see so much here. It's going to be absolutely crazy. So that's going to be a mega section. And from there, we're going to talk about the different seasons that I've paired those books with to make sure that I do a very efficient timed launch. So we touched upon timed launches in my last video, where basically we're talking about releasing a book at its kind of peak in the marketplace, at its peak season, so that we can get ranked faster, make sales quicker, and stay ranked for longer. We'll take a look at those seasons, and this is all going to transition into what my next book project is going to be. So that's going to be a kind of early education book, and I'm going to lead on to that through those first two sections if you're interested in seeing that book when I release it. From there, we'll take a look at the new software that I'm using to create that book. And again, this is pretty exciting stuff. You've seen the other software that I've promoted before, and it's going to be in the same vein as that. From there, the very last section here, and something that I've been incredibly excited to create, which is going to be the bonus that I'm going to be offering for that software, which is going to be the 6-step launch plan, but it's going to be paired with 4 live group calls that are going to be at least an hour long. So basically what's going to happen there is you're going to be able to see me launch the new book, and you're going to be able to actually have live chats with me to go through the launch process, the 6-step launch plan process. You're going to be able to do it live. You can discuss anything you want on these live calls as well. It's going to be probably the most exciting bonus that I've given away yet. So that's all to come in this video. So let's get into the stats now for the launches, the books that I've launched over the last year or so that I've implemented the launch strategy. So you can see all the different type of stats that are involved and the type of rewards and risks that are involved with this as well. Okay, so this is not something that I used to ever brag about. This is factual. This has to be stats and give people the reality check when it comes to publishing in these type of niches on Amazon. Okay, so the first book we have is a generic adult coloring book, which has over 25,000 sales, and 429 of them have come from the advertising campaigns. And that book is now around just 5 months old at the moment. So let's take a look inside the orders and the advertising campaigns for this book now. So 25,033 sales of its lifetime in the last sort of 5 months. Now, obviously, there are going to be certain very, very skeptical people who want to have the page refreshed. So I will just go to the last 7 days just to show you that there are 517 units ordered for this book. So it is legit. Not everyone is out to get you. So back to the lifetime, 25,000, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so that's not the point. The point is to take a look at pairing that with the advertising cost for this type of book. So I don't have the advertising cost on screen here, but it was pretty much around $700 to $800 across the entirety of the last 5 months. Now, the reason why that is so much higher than my typical ad spend is because I did that kind of test period for the first couple of weeks to see how the book was performing organically. And then, only then, once I was happy, do I just let the advertising campaigns keep running. Okay, so while the ad spend for this book might seem high, it's only relevant, it's only that high because it's being paired with the organic sales that the book is getting. Okay, so as you can see, we had 429 sales from that. The ACOS is a little bit high at 41%, but the cost per click we managed to get down to around 19 cents per click. Okay, so let's move on to the next. And the campaigns in this one, sorry, they were a mixture of auto campaigns, 20 cents up and down, another auto campaign which was 50 cents down only, and then I had a couple just random sort of manual campaigns that I think I've switched off at this point. Okay. All right, moving on. So we have the latest book that I've released, which is an easy coloring book for adults, which has had 62 sales in the first month, and 26 of them have come from advertising campaigns. Let's take a quick look at that now. Okay, so we have 62 sales here from the book that was just released, and the advertising campaign, we have just one campaign going for that, where we've had 22 orders from that campaign. Now the ACOS, as we can see, and this all relates back to our kind of launch period, is that the ACOS is quite high because we released this not really caring about the launch period, not caring about the ACOS, because we just want to get those sales. We discussed this in the last video, but basically what was happening, as you can see here, is that we got the sales, and then from there we started optimizing and reducing the campaigns just so that we weren't spending too much money. We got ranked, etc., etc. So again, it all comes down to having a solid launch plan. Okay, so 213 clicks to 22 orders and 60 whatever it was sales from that. Now this is just one automatic campaign, which was, I think, a 32 cent up and down campaign, which I've now reduced down to 23 cents. Okay, so moving on to the next book. Our next book here is going to be the addition and subtraction workbook that I've spoken about before on my channel. So that has, in its lifetime, in the last year, has 573 sales, and 102 of them come from advertising campaigns. So the good thing about this is that we're now kind of hitting that peak again, where these early education books are starting to get traction and starting to make a few sales. So this month, the sales for this book are probably going to be higher than most months. But let's take a look at the campaigns and the stats for this. All right, so as you can see here, this is the addition subtraction workbook, 573 sales. We have 298 last year and 275 so far this year. And to look at the advertising campaigns, we have 117 orders. I think I possibly marked that incorrectly on the PowerPoint presentation. 31% ACOS, and the reason the ACOS is decent here is because we've had a lot of time to kind of optimize the campaigns that were working. And I'm happy that the ACOS is around 30% for this book here, with 37 cent click cost per click. So the two main campaigns here, and this wasn't all of them, there was more during the launch. I just can't recall what I actually called the advertising campaigns, but we had a product targeting campaign for one of the ones that we've left on is a product targeting campaign. So if I just go into that and show you, now this is rare for me. Like I tend to leave on the automatic campaigns, but this is a testament to how inconsistent the success with Amazon ads is. And that's what I really want to try and emphasize in these sections, is that it's not about, you know, having one campaign that works for everyone or being able to optimize it in a certain way. It's about launching your book and then checking which campaigns you can actually keep going. Okay, so let's take a look at the product targeting campaign here for this book. All right, so we had 95 orders come from this one product targeting campaign, and we had a cost per click of 40 cents. So let's take a look at which book it was actually targeting against. I could probably actually optimize this campaign a little bit further, but let's take a look and see which book we were targeting on our product targeting. So we had quite a few books here, but the main one that we kind of managed to get the most success from was this. I think this is probably the Humble Math book here, if I can see that from the thumbnail here. And as you can see, we got quite a lot of clicks against that book, and we're making some decent sales from that. And that was probably used during the launch period. And like I say, I've kept it on, but what I can do now, if I'm feeling happy, is to start reducing, and I will just do it now. We'll start reducing this bid by a few cents here, and we'll leave that going. We'll monitor that for a few days, and we'll see how that one goes. Okay, so from here we have the Halloween notebooks, which I touched upon in the last video. So those have had 1,264 sales and it's around 111. I'll check in a second. And that's been over the last 11 months, I think it is, because I released them in September of 2022. I've got a video about them, but let's take a look at the stats for these 5 different Halloween notebooks. Okay, so these are the 5 selected notebooks here. Lifetime 1,264, and we go and take a look at the type of campaign that we were mainly getting sales from. Now this is a good campaign to show off because it's at 14% in its entirety. So obviously the ad spend will probably be a little bit higher for this book because I've established the launch plan went well. And from there, I've been able to actually keep the campaigns running because the ACoS is looking decent. So we've had 96 orders from this, and this is actually one of those lottery campaigns. I just went straight for a lottery campaign for this one, and as you can see, there are 36 different products inside this lottery campaign. But what happened is I put all these different products into these campaigns, and only 2 of them, I think 1 or 2 of these books actually started getting the sales, and they happened to be those notebooks. Okay, so that's a great way to get low cost per click, and that's what I went for with these books. I don't think I possibly launched these books to a couple auto campaigns as well that I can't find, but most of them have come from this lottery campaign that I've kept on. 96 orders, and as you saw, 1,000 plus sales from that, and that was obviously launched during September at its peak where it's going to get ranked. And the great thing here is that because of the sticky nature of getting ranked during these sort of hot periods of the season, your book is likely to get a ton of sales and stick around for longer, which is what I found for those 2 books in particular. All right, so from here we have the How to Draw book, and I've color coded these, as in green is the ones that have made a profit, blue is what I can't really speak about at this moment because it's too early or there's not enough data to go by, and red is the ones that aren't making any money at the moment. So this How to Draw book, we did a case study for this. It's been going for around 3 months. We had 103 sales in total. We had, I think it's probably more than 30 for the ads. I'm going to have to apologize because I can't find all of my advertising campaigns, but it was around 30 to 50 maybe that have come from ads. So we're at a loss with that book. But we did touch upon this in the last video where we are still have a decent ranking for this book. So I do believe at the end of Q4, this will have made its money back because obviously I had to pay for the images for this book as well alongside the advertising campaigns. All right, so let's take a look. This is the How to Draw book, and as you can see, 103 sales. And the type of campaigns, this is not going to be correct because I've lost some of the campaigns here. I've tried to find them, but because of the stupid way that I name them, it's hard to look back at multiple campaigns. So 10 orders from what I can see here, but I suspect it was probably more than that. And if you've done the case study for this, you probably would have seen that it was more than this. But the type of campaigns that we're running here, we tried tons of different campaigns here, and not many really worked, to be honest. All right, so from there we have the shaped word search, and I've pretty much lost a ton of those stats here, but this is one of the biggest failures. That's why it's in this kind of deep red color. It's because it's only had 27 sales in the last couple months from when that was released. The advertising cost, I can't recall what I call those campaigns. They're in the case study group, but it's probably, I have no idea. Actually, I have no idea, but it is definitely a loss, that one, and the book is just not selling organically at all. Okay, so I pretty much turned off the campaigns for the How to Draw book and the shaped word search just because they're not performing. Okay, so it doesn't make sense to leave them on past the launch period if they've not been proven to be making organic sales. So from there we have a very simple coloring book for seniors, which has amounted to 3,466 sales. 229 have come from advertising campaigns, and that book has been around for 1 year. So really emphasizing that your book can continue to make lots of sales, consistent sales beyond that kind of 1 year period if you launch your book correctly. And again, emphasis always on this launch. So as we can see here, these are the 3,466 sales. I'm going to pair this with the campaigns here. So we have 229 orders, 36% ACOS. Some of these campaigns are going to be running still, obviously, because they're not losing too much money. But the type of campaigns that we went for here, we had a automatic campaign that I priced at quite a high cost per click, maybe 80 cent, I think it was quite a high one. Then we kept a manual campaign going for that as well. Then we had a product targeting campaign that we left going for that as well. Then we had an automatic cheaper campaign, which was probably around 30 cent going for that as well. So as you can see here, the cost per click is actually pretty low because I've been optimizing this one over time. Again, only because it was proven during the launch period to be converting organically as well. And I've spoken to many people lately. One of their concerns is that they have this launch strategy. They put the launch strategy into place, but all they're getting is advertising sales only, and they're not getting organic sales paired alongside that. That is very real, and it happens to me as well. It happens to a lot of people. If you have 3, 4, 5 books and it's not working out for you organically, just know that's perfectly normal. That is much better. What you're doing is much better than just throwing books up there. Having a solid launch plan is an absolute necessity for making sure that you can have a low amount of books and a high amount of success. Okay, so Christmas word search, and just to speed things up here, that had about 168 sales. About 50 to 80 of them came from advertising campaigns. So again, that's in blue because it has kind of made its money back almost, and I expect it to make some sales as we get toward Q4 here. So I think that will make some money going forward. It's going to be a real long-term one, but it's I've spoken about this book many times before. And from there we have my biggest failure to date, which is a pattern coloring book, which has had 238 sales. Over 100 of these sales have come from advertising campaigns. Now, the interesting thing here is that this book, and I'll show you the stats very quickly. So that's the Christmas word search, 168, as you can see here, and 86-ish orders from the Christmas word search. And we have the pattern coloring book here, which is 283 sales. Now, to pair that with the campaign here that I created originally, we had 76 sales from the campaigns that I created. So the thing that happened here is that I hired a pay-per-click company to run advertising campaigns to this book to try and re-rank it, and they ended up spending between $300 and $400. Okay, so that means I'm going to be down like $500 of advertising spend on one book, and that was after its launch period. It was so much harder to get the book ranked for different keywords. It was incredibly hard to do. And again, that's why I don't know why I did this. It's a good test for me. It's good to have learned this. But during the launch period, that was so much easier to get sales and get ranking that there was no need to hire people to run more advertising campaigns when it's been proven. We did like a test period. It was proven that it wasn't going to work organically, but I still did it. And that was the biggest failure. The book is still, along with the cost of the images for that book, it's going to be like, $500 down still. Okay, so that's a bit of a shame. Okay, so that's a look at some of the books that I've had published. Now, obviously, I have other books. I've got higher content books, but it's not fair to include those stats among these sales because I just don't talk about them on this channel, which have been going for 3 or 4 years now. But those are the stats for the books where I've implemented a solid launch plan, and these are the kind of results that I expect to find in terms of the numbers here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and we're looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 of these having profit in the long term, maybe 6 of them if the How to Draw book goes well as well. But my point here is to really emphasize that launch plan to make sure you give your books the most success, the most chance of having the most success possible without having to pump out hundreds and hundreds of different types of book. Okay, that way of thinking is so 2017, 2018. It's just not that realistic anymore, in my opinion. It might work for some people, but I'd rather people have a really structured launch plan and actually try and enter into niches where traffic and sales are going. So regarding that, the launch period, we'll take a look in the next section now at the different seasons that I was launching each of these books in to make sure that they got ranked fast and stayed ranked. Okay, so these are the timed launches, the seasons where I launched these books here. And obviously I can't do this for every single book, But Valentine's Day was the Valentine's Day month, which is obviously February, is when I like to release my coloring book. So the one that has 25,000 sales was released in January, and I think it was somewhat appealing to couples. So I figured that would be a really great time in January to start to release that book and actually capitalize on getting the sort of Valentine's Day gifty traffic as well. So the back to school was obviously the season which we're currently in at the moment for the addition and subtraction workbook. It's also where I'm going to be releasing my next book, which I'm going to talk about in the next slide. But that was the optimal period between August and September to release those type of books to make sure you get that solid ranking, as I've shown off before. The notebooks, they were obviously released during Halloween. So these have a very horror type feel to them. So I released them during Halloween, which was a month before Halloween. So September, released during that period, and then started capitalizing on the Halloween sales where it peaked. Then those books have stayed ranked. Now, the interesting thing about these books here is that the niche that they're in, the niche is so flooded and competitive that it's absolutely crazy. And that's why I wanted to make sure that I released these books during that kind of Halloween period to make sure I had a good chance of staying and getting ranked for them. So 2 of those 5 books are stickied onto the first page for last year, which I'm very happy about. And they're going to continue to make more sales as we come toward Q4 this year without any doubt whatsoever. Again, that's the power of a good launch. From there, we have Q4 where I'm releasing the Christmas word search, obviously. And then if it's outside of that, if I think I'm ready to publish a book outside of Valentine's Day, then I tend to release my other coloring books in like September and October, just to make sure that we get that kind of influx of sales during Q4. Okay, so coloring books is a great time to release them during Q4. Obviously, just before Q4, in the sort of upcoming month or two, is a great time to release those type of books. But just one thing to note here, if you're going to release books during Q4, you should be very, very, very careful with your advertising spend. Okay, so that's going to lead me on now to the next book that I've been working on. Okay, so let's talk about launching the next book that you're going to be able to see at some point on my channel. It's going to be another early education book. So this is pretty much where my launch plan originated from, which was creating the addition and subtraction workbook, which I've shown off many times on my channel. So that is this book here, which we can see has stickied around on the front page and is still ranked. Like I say, it's still ranked on the front page. It's doing quite well. It makes consistent sales. And this was kind of the turning point for me when it came to my launch plan, because what was happening during this period was I realized that obviously, like if I was promoting software and I was showing off the books that I was using, is that they kind of had to really be on point for me to actually show this off to people and pair that with the promotion of the software. And that's when I started implementing the launch strategy, the keyword implementation strategies alongside that as well. And this is pretty much where it's all started. So that is now lending to an opportunity for me to now go back and to get into these niches again, since we're in the August to September period of back to school, where I'm going to be able to get these type of books ranked easier, faster, get the short-term sales, and hopefully make long-term sales like this as well. So what I'm going to be doing for the upcoming book is to kind of go back to that now that I've been introduced and been lucky enough to test some software that's going to allow me to create more activity-based books in the early education niche. So before we had the software which did the addition and subtraction, but there were some elements there that were just way too tedious for me to do. And I'll show you in the next slide the software that I've been using. But the type of books that I want to get into, and you know, if you watch my channel, you know that I want to get into these bigger niches and make the bigger sales. So for me, we're going to be looking at these kind of preschool activity books that have a variety of different activities in them, like counting and tracing and things like that. So the book that I'm kind of going to be basing it off of is one of these ones at the bottom here. Is like a preschool math activity book. It's going to be aged between kids like 3 to 5, I would say. It's going to have a couple different activities inside this, but I've seen the BSRs for these type of books. I'm interested. I've got access to the software now that I'm going to be reviewing on the 18th, but I'll show you that in the next slide. But this is the type of book. This is the type of book that I'm going to be entering into and doing a timed launch for with my launch strategy, and hopefully getting ranked on the first pages. So, like I said, this is the back to school season now, and it's time to push in this niche and get ranked for those type of books. This is the absolute best time to do it. I'm slightly late probably to it, but I've only got access to this software now, and I'll be looking to publish this book in the next sort of 2 to 3 weeks to give myself the best chance possible of getting ranked well for that. So like I say, we've just gone through it. We're going to be looking at producing an activity book inside of this niche that I'm going to be able to show off at some point on this channel. So let's load into the counting worksheet generator app here. So I'm going to be doing a full review for this on the 18th of August. So you can see the pricing, all the different features, the way that I'm going to be using it, etc, etc. So nothing, if you're ever confused about the pricing for these type of products or how I'm actually going to be using them and what the bonuses that I offer, it's all going to be laid out on the table. So there's absolutely no confusion when it comes to if you're interested in purchasing this app. So in terms of what I'm going to be using that for myself, there's a lot of obviously counting activity pages here that we can choose from to add into our activity books. So I just create a few pages here so you can see how the app actually works. And so let's just take a look at some of the type of pages that I plan to use this app for when it comes to creating my activity book. And bear in mind that the software that what you're seeing at the moment is still not the final version, and it is the completely upgraded version. So I have all the features included here. So just keep that in mind when viewing this demonstration. So like I say, there's going to be a ton of different counting options here. Now, obviously, this is very important for children ages 3 to 5 to learn this and to learn this in a fun manner. So for example, one of these pages here that I'll probably be using is the whole sweet jar thing here. Now, of course, with all these apps, you have the regenerate option here to make sure that what you're producing is completely unique and efficient when it comes to actually creating it. And with all these apps, you have the ridiculous amounts of customization that comes with it. Like I say, the full review will be on the 18th, and I'll go through pretty much everything, but there's just a lot of customization when it comes to these apps to make sure that your books are completely unique and fun for those buying it. So like I say, we have a ton of different options here when it comes to what we can actually do with each and every page that we create inside of the app. So we can change the font, change the style, change the thickness of things, etc, etc. But one of the main things here that I'm going to be using, and I'm going to touch upon this in a pretty exciting video coming up soon, where when it comes to these type of counting pages here, where we have the different images and the child needs to write down how many they can find inside the box here, what the app allows you to do is to use your own images inside this. Okay, so we're going to replace all these with our own images. We're going to use ones that I've bought before for the how to draw book. So we're going to touch back upon reusing our assets, actually treating this like the business that it is, and using them inside this book as well in a completely unique way. So I'll be showcasing that in the upcoming video. And again, there's lots and lots of different types of functions inside the app. I've not gone into everything in this video because I'm still exploring it myself. But I just noticed, I just clicked on one of the type of pages that we can create, and they've implemented this feature here. As you can see, this counting block section here. I don't know which version of the software it's in, so don't get too excited because I don't know. But you can literally on the screen rotate the blocks here and have them presented the way that you want them, which is pretty crazy. I've not seen them do anything like this in their apps before, but I'll be certainly looking to implement these into my activity book as well. Again, lots of customization when it comes to these type of pages. And like I say, I'm currently in the sort of beta version here, but there's a few different options that we have here for creating our book. And like I say, I will go over all these in the full review. But the main thing here is that I'm going to be utilizing some of this application for some of the book that I'm going to be publishing onto KDP very soon. But the main thing here is that I want to obviously save time, speed the process, and to make the book fun as well. So I'll probably, for example, be using these type of count and circle activity pages as well. Again, probably going to be using my own images instead of the default ones here. Going to be using them to make sure that the book is as fun as possible. Now you can do these in Canva. It's the same story. Like if you want to do this in Canva or PowerPoint, you can do it. You can outsource this. It's entirely up to you. But for me, where software is present that can speed up the process, then it's totally worth it. Again, the niche in general might not be worth it for you at all, but that's obviously down to you to assess. So again, we're going to take a look at pretty much all the features inside this application when it releases on the 18th of August. And that's going to lend to an opportunity now for me to actually talk about the bonus that I'm going to be offering with this. Like if you've bought software through me before, you know that I always try to over deliver when it comes to the bonuses that I'm offering. And this is going to be no exception now. So let's talk very quickly about the bonus that I'm offering alongside the Counting Worksheet Generator app. So let's talk about the bonus here that I'm offering with this software. Now, what I recently asked inside my Facebook group is if people are interested in participating in live group chats where you can pretty much ask me anything. So that's going to be part of the bonus where we're going to have 4 live group calls. You don't have to be on webcam. You don't have to be on audio. You can just sit and type your questions, ask me anything. I'm going to be there for an hour each session alongside the launch plan that I'm giving away with the software as well. So what's going to be happening here, as I've touched upon already, is that I'm creating this math activity book. But what I want to do is to really focus, laser targeted focus here on the 6-step launch strategy that I'm using. So the best way that I can do this is by offering that alongside the release of the activity book. Okay, so you can have a full 6-step launch plan that you can work through, that you can implement into your future books that I'm going to be operating on the math activity book that I'm going to be releasing. So you can see absolutely everything that goes into the very specific launch plan that I have. So pairing that, we have the 4 live group calls as well. So we're going to do 4 of them, going to be at least an hour long. So you can talk about the release of the activity book. You can talk about my launch strategy. You can show me your books for me to review on the call. You can talk about advertising. You can talk about anything you want. I'm going to be doing this for 4 different calls as part of the bonus, which will be kind of during the point where I release the math activity book. So it's all going to work hand in hand. So you'll get that 6-step launch plan, which is probably going to be some kind of it might be hosted on Thinkific or some video course platform. You're going to be able to see the math activity book and everything that goes into that. On top of that, you'll have the 4 live group calls with me as well. And on top of that, we'll have a standard Facebook group that we create as well. So I've gone all out with this bonus. Super excited, a little bit nervous to get on the calls and do that again, but we did it before. It was incredible. And yeah, that's the bonus for the Counting Worksheet Generator, which comes out on the 18th of August. And it's only going to be offered during that period. The group calls are kind of the main bonus here because I don't do them just randomly. They have to be paired with something, and I think this is the perfect time to do that. And as for the 6-step launch case study video course thingy-majiggy, that's going to be offered as a separate product down the line, but you have the chance to kind of get in on the early access to this, because what I want to happen is when I release this down the line is that I want to have results from students. Okay, that's a big part of my credibility in making money, obviously, is that I need to showcase that I can share other people's results as well, and that obviously builds my credibility, etc., etc. So during this period, we're going to hopefully get some results from other people who are implementing the 6-step launch strategy, and it's going to be a great time for you to start publishing a book, because you'll be able to share with me what you're doing on those live group calls or in the Facebook group. It's going to be pretty crazy, but that's the 18th of August where everything pretty much kicks off. So the live group calls and the math activity book are likely to start at the start of September. Obviously, I need a little bit of time to actually have the book published, and when it starts going live, then we can start doing the group calls and pretty much everything that goes into that. You'll be completely notified through emails and everything as and when that starts. But like I say, it's going to be the craziest bonus that I think I've offered yet. Okay, so that's it for this video. Hopefully you've enjoyed this and you look forward to the live calls and the case studies and all those software coming out and all the good things. I'll see you in the upcoming videos very, very soon.